Audio Jungle.
In the speech, held at Global Citizen's 24 Hours live stream event in New York, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex condemned the global statutes of vaccine equity and called for the intellectual property for the vaccine recipes to be waived. However, vaccine experts claim pharmaceutical companies distributing COVID-19 recipes without a fee may not tackle international vaccine inequity. Thomas Cooney, Director General of the International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Associations, responded to Meghan and Harry's claims of pharmaceutical companies not doing enough to solve vaccine inequity around the world. He told, "We agree with the Sussexes that action is needed now to ensure COVID-19 vaccines are quickly and equitably shared around the world. Waiving intellectual property rights of COVID-19 vaccines will not increase production nor provide practical solutions needed to battle this global health crisis. As we have consistently stated, a waiver is the simple, but wrong, answer to what is a complex problem. Since we now have billions of vaccines that have been produced and many more in the pipeline, calls for waiving IP is a distraction." Mr. Cooney added that trade barriers, lack of raw materials, supply chain bottlenecks and a reluctance among rich countries to share doses were the real challenges. During their speech, the Duke and Duchess Sussex urged first world countries to donate 1 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines to developing countries. Prince Harry said, "This week we sat with independent global health leaders to further understand how we get closer to vaccine equity and ending this health crisis. But we're battling more than this virus alone. This is a battle of misinformation, bureaucracy, lack of transparency and lack of access. Above all, this is a human rights crisis." Experts said many countries are ready to produce vaccines at home but they aren't allowed to because ultra-wealthy pharmaceutical companies are not sharing the recipes to make them. Meghan added, "Every single person on this planet has a fundamental right to get this vaccine. That's a point, but that is not happening. And while in this country and many others you can go almost anywhere and get vaccinated, billions of people around the world cannot. This year the world is meant to reach the target of vaccinating 70% of people in every single country, but it is wrong that so much of the vaccine supply has only gone to 10 wealthy nations so far and not everyone else. It's just not okay." Meghan continued, "And when we view this as a humanitarian crisis, which it is, control over a vaccine that can help save lives should not be solely in the hands of the fortunate few." Dr. Simon Clark, Associate Professor in Cellular Microbiology at the University of Reading, also responded to Meghan and Harry's claims. He told, "People often assume that there is a single patent behind each vaccine. There is not, there are multiple patents and they would all have to be opened. With the RNA vaccines in particular, I don't believe that there are many places in the developing world that could manufacture them at scale." Harry, 37, and his wife Meghan Markle, 40, made the onstage appearance at the Global Citizen Live Festival on Saturday during their 3-day tour of New York City. Body language expert Judy James told the Mail Online, Prince Harry was trying to rev the crowd with some warm-up man-style gestures, like cupping his ear to pretend he couldn't hear their agreements and yelling out New York City, like a bit of a rock star. The couple were warmly received during their appearance at the concert in New York's Central Park. Attendees, which the Duke suggested topped 60,000, cheered Harry and Meghan as they called on people to do what is necessary to end this pandemic. While Ms. James claimed the 37-year-old had behaved like a rock star, she also suggested the Duchess played the lead role. In performance terms, it was Harry who seemed to recognize his wife as lead star, gazing at her with eyes slightly narrowed to show pride but also performing some anxiety rituals like clothing and finger fiddling as he watched her more powerful speech, she said. The body language expert went on to claim, after their more corporate-looking appearances so far in New York, this onstage body language saw Meghan and Harry revert to their more familiar-looking PDAs and signals of affection. Although these romantic rituals were driven more by the demanding crowd than instigated by the couple themselves. But once Harry had used the "my wife and I" line and thrown the first loving gaze in Meghan's direction, it was clear from the cheers and screams of approval from the crowd that they wanted more of the couple's romantic backstory. During their 3-day tour of New York, Harry and Meghan made their first public appearance since the birth of their second child in June. Later on in their trip, the Sussexes held a meeting with the United Nations Deputy Secretary-General Amina Mohammed. The pair were also spotted enjoying a night out as they let their hair down in the Big Apple. The estranged Duke and Duchess of Sussex have since returned to their $15 million home in California and have been reunited with their children, Archie and Lilibet.